Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Daily with Jay and Clay. We are glad you made it. We got 4 topics, and who knows? I mean, we sliver off into different things and go down rabbit holes, but it's all for the good overall, right? When we go through things, remember that sometimes we're addressing people that might not have any clue about this stuff at all. A lot of the regulars, people who watch all the time, support the channels, all that good stuff, you know a lot of this already because you have been watching and educating yourself, which Clay is a big fan of education. He likes to educate. So with that, we're going to educate some more. And just remember that if this is stuff you know, that's awesome. It's also for our brothers and sisters who are coming up behind us, right? Remember that the benefits that we enjoy today were on the backs of veterans before us, and it's up to us to kind of pay it forward and to kind of share that information to those new folks coming out. With that, Clay, I'm going to tell everyone, please hit the thumbs up, help us cross that 10,000 mark. We're really excited to do that. Hit the 5 digits there. And is that right? Yeah. I'm doing my Marine Corps math. Sorry, mortars. So we'll kick it over to you, Clay. Let the folks know what we got in store today.
Absolutely. So there's a new veteran born every day. So sometimes we got to rope back around, but we're going to be talking about which VSO is the best. I see questions all the time saying, hey, I'm using DAV, which one's the best? Are they good? And we're going to really dive deep into what a VSO is and how do you tell you're with the best VSO, right? Then we're going to transition into what I believe are off-limit claims or should be off-limit claims from claims consulting companies. Then we're going to talk about things that slow down your claim. Everyone is very fixated on the time associated with that VA disability claim. And then finally, we'll talk about when should you involve an attorney with your claim. Sometimes, and this is one I hate, Jason. Sometimes the answer is, hey, you might want to consider lowering up. And I generally don't like giving that answer, but there are situations where that is the best option, at least in my opinion. And so roping back, Jason, I know you were a VSO. Most people know you were a VSO. I'm going to answer this one first because I feel like you're going to knock this one out the park and not leave me with anything to say. So,
not true.
Which is the best VSO? I have my opinion, right? Usually when people say VSO, it's Veteran Service Organization or Veteran Service Officer, and you'll hear the big 3 always come up, the big 3 VSOs, which are VFW, the DAV, and the American Legion, which are all VSOs, but they do so much more than just VA disability claims. They're lobbying, they're testifying in front of Congress, they're within the state's House, Senate, the House and the Senate at the state level. They do all kinds of stuff. But in my opinion, the best VSO are going to be your county and your state VSOs. These are paid VSOs. Yes, a VSO with the VFW could be paid as well, but there are some volunteers as well. Your county and state are going to be paid. And it's just, in my opinion, that's where your cream of the crop VSOs are going to be. So, for instance, in Virginia, they have the Department of Veteran Services of Virginia. Those are all VSOs that can help you submit your disability claims. They understand Virginia benefits, okay, where the VFW might not understand that in full. And Maryland has the same thing, Arizona, Texas. I mean, you name your state, you got a VSO in there. That's my personal opinion on who is the best VSO if I had to choose one. Jason, I'm going to shoot it over to you.
All right. So this is kind of complicated, and I want to try to make it simple. So one, absolutely, I agree. It's important to make the distinction between VSO and VSO. It is what it is, right? So VSO, Veteran Service Organization, like you said, all the different entities out there, they have a great place of which they help to function stuff, and that's great. They also offer accredited services. Then you have your veteran service officers who function in office within typically a county throughout the different states. Now, there's a couple different routes you could go to figure that out. One, you could just go to your county in your city and figure out, veteran services, and you can kind of figure it out that way. There's also the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. So it's an association, and you can go on their website and, then kind of backtrack from there into your neck of the woods. Now, as far as who's the best, look, it's a people business, right? You could have somebody who's paid and, they're totally funded. They have the greatest, they have everything they need. And for all intents and purposes on paper, they should be dynamic. But if they don't care, then that's going to show. So I think that you really need to, I guess, depending on the complexity, right? I mean, there's just so much. If you're working with somebody and you have this feeling of which they don't really care, they're not answering my questions, they're not helping guide me the way I need help. Everybody needs help at different levels, right? Shop around, find another VSO that you could work with. You cannot, by the way, you cannot have more than one, so 2, 3, 4. You can't have a bunch of different accredited representatives representing you. They will submit a form to the VA. It's kind of like a power of attorney. It's an appointment of an accredited rep. So they're going to appoint you, and then when you appoint a new accredited rep, it negates the prior one. So, for example, if you started working with DAV, you weren't happy with them, then you went to a county veteran service officer and you appointed them, that appointment will negate DAVs. If you go back to DAV and say, hey, can you check the status of my claim? They're not going to be able to. I will give you a couple tips here. One, in my opinion, and again, it's a people thing. I mean, you could have somebody dynamic. I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to most of this stuff, sadly. So a helpful hint would be if your representative has what's called a PIV card. It's kind of like the current CAC cards with the military, right? So your ID card in the military today has a little computer chip on it that you slide in and you punch in your code. To authenticate it's you, it's basically just to sign or acknowledge and get emails and that type of stuff, which is great. But there's a PIV card on the VA side for affiliated representatives with the VA, and it allows those accredited representatives to be able to remote desktop into the VBMS system and track your claim and watch. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that that person is, or has the ability anyway, to be a little more on it for you. I know plenty of veteran service organization part-time representatives that do not. I even knew some that were full-time. Like, I do this 5 days a week, and they did not have a PIV card. So what did they have to do? Hey, I can't check the status of my claim. They'd have to call to another office of theirs in the state and then have that person then check for them. It's a little more hurdles along the way, I believe. So all that to boil it down, to me, I would say a full-time person, because they'll have the experience. You'd rather have somebody who's doing claims every single day, and a lot of them, because that's going to build the experience. Ideally, in my situation, in my mind, and this is just a geographic thing, if you're in a small, 500 person town in a county that has, 30,000 people in a small state, you might not have this. But if you have a more populated area, going to an office that has 5, 6, 7, 10 people working in it is advantageous, because then they could bounce things off of each other if they need to. So size matters as far as that's concerned, as far as resources and brain power, if they come across something that's a little quirky. So full-time rep, ideally somebody who's paid, because they're even more so got the resources they need. Then they have a PIV card, which is that remote desktop into the VA system to kind of track and follow it along with you. And then with all that, if it doesn't quite feel right, even if that office has more than one person, you can ask, hey, look, do you mind if I work with somebody else? I just feel like we're not, connecting right. You could talk to the manager there, whatever. My rule was, look, no hard feelings. Look, everybody doesn't connect with everybody. You're going to have some people that are just kind of, ships passing in the night. You say something, it's not coming across right, and that's fine, right? It's about you and your claim. You need to find the right person for you to be able to have the conversation and get the things that you need. I'm going to throw out one more thing. I know I was talking for a long time, Clay.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I think that it is vital that people do the footwork on their side, right? Understand it's these types of videos, right? Where, I mean, not this one specifically, but the ones where we talk about what's it take to have a quality claim? What do you need to document? What kind of evidence do you need? File an intent to file. You can do that yourself, right? You can call the VA, set that up. You don't need to go see a veteran service organization or officer to do that. Do that. Start documenting your claim. Start getting all the things you need. Start building your evidence. Start thinking about secondaries, right? These are important aspects that you as the individual can then bring to the table and let that veteran service organization or officer or accredited rep be the person to really kind of look through it, make sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and then they could bring up a few questions from their perspective as they're helping you to put it together. So I think that like you say, the education piece and information piece is vital to the success of your claim. Do not rely heavily on anybody else to do it for you, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally agree, especially with that last point, Jason. If you choose, which is a choice, by the way, if you choose to not do the legwork for your claim, that's okay, right? That is a choice that you can make, but the consequence of that is you are relying on a solid VSO, right? You're assuming that person's a solid VSO, right? We're giving them the benefit of the doubt and say that they are. But then it goes further than that. If you don't do the legwork for your claim, and that means you probably don't understand your evidence. You just know it's there somewhere. When you go to your CMP exam, you're not able to talk about your evidence because you don't know what your evidence is. I'll give you a personal story of mine. For my migraine claim, I had no idea. I had an in-service complaint from 2012 after I got back from Afghan. It was a one-liner complaint and a post-deployment health assessment. I had no idea that was there, okay? Had I done the legwork and looked at my service treatment record, I could then talk about that during the exam. It not only helps me understand my evidence, but it also walks the CMP examiner. So it comes down to, if you don't do the legwork, that's okay. But there's a consequence with that, is you're relying on the VSO and the CMP examiners to do what they're supposed to do. Hopefully that works out in your favor. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. The last thing I'll say on VSOs, Jason, is shop around. Just like you would shop around, for a box of Pop-Tarts. I'm only saying that because there's a box right there. If you don't like strawberry, go look at chocolate fudge. That's my personal favorite. They got s'mores, blueberry, all types of flavors for Pop-Tarts. Same with VSOs. You walk into VFW, if you're not vibing out with that person, that's okay. Just say respectfully, saying, hey, I'm gonna keep searching elsewhere. You can use another rep at the VFW that would still fall into the 2122, I think is the form used for power of attorney. You can go to your state VSO, shop around until you find that VSO that you're like, you know what? I trust this person to submit the appropriate forms, help me figure me out, maybe like a secondaries, whatever the case may be. Shop around would be my number one advice for VSOs. Do you want to add anything, Jason?
Yeah, it's funny, and this is just one of those little stories too, and it's going to sound ridiculous to most people who watch these channels because we talk about what you're supposed to do, right? Mm-hmm. But let's flash back to, the first time that I ever tried to stumble through a claim myself, and it sounds ridiculous, right? I'm just self-diagnosing. I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. Submit. No evidence, no nothing, no nexus, no medical evidence. I'm just self-diagnosing and submitted that. And it's like, why would you even do that, right? Because you don't know. I'm thinking to give myself some sort of Reason why, the VA has medical professionals. If I say that I have signs or symptoms or whatever of a condition, or I think I have a condition, I think that they would run me through maybe one of their doctors, right? Is what I thought. Oh, no. You got to go pay for yourself and go. I mean, for a lot of cases, right? You got to just go to a civilian doctor yourself and pay out of pocket and get that done. Now, the VA has opened up to many more veterans than ever before to allow medical, services through the VHA. But, before it was only, a handful of ways you can get into that. And I didn't even know how to do that. So I just didn't know, right? So not educated, not informed, and just throwing things against the wall and then going, the VA sucks. Well, no, you didn't read any of the rule book, right? You can't jump into playing Monopoly and not understand how to play it. You're just going to get frustrated, right? So all that to say is that, a veteran service officer, accredited rep, whoever, will help make sure that at least you're providing the information you need to support your claim. Cool. Where they may fall short, and this just depends, this is the people business, bandwidth issues and funding, which then creates the bandwidth issues, is they might not have the ability to spend hours over the course of months with you. It's just the nature of the beast. So the more that you're knowledgeable and the more that you know what you're doing, the better. Go in prepared. Go in with the questions that you do have. Go in with the strategy that you do have. The times are so different now, right? Over the past, 5 years or so, with videos being out there on YouTube, stuff on the internet through like Reddit or Hadit, right? That type of stuff. Really has helped because of stories from veterans to other veterans about their situation and so forth. So with that, there's a lot of information out there, and read or watch stuff so you can be prepared and take that to your accredited rep.
Oh yeah. I mean, VSOs, if I was to, this is the last thing we'll say, and then we'll transition, because I can talk about VSOs all day. It comes down to, the perfect claim. What that would look like is it's two pieces. One, the veteran understands their evidence from service. They have current documentation of that condition, hopefully a diagnosis, but at minimum, you want like a treatment plan, medication, physical therapy, whatever. And then they take that evidence, walk into a VSO and say, hey, here, do with this what you need to do. That VSO, I promise, that VSO will be like, man, I love this guy. He's prepared. He knows exactly what he wants to claim. If that's the relationship, you're starting off on the right foot, right? At least that's what would be the perfect claim, in my opinion. Now I do want to transition to go ahead.
What's the contrast of that? So now here's the perfect scenario. What's the nightmare situation for one? I want to see what your
situation. I'll talk about the first time I submitted a claim. I went to a VSO with the state of Virginia, DVS of Virginia, and I had no idea what I wanted to claim. I walked in and was like, hey, I'm here to talk about VA stuff. And he was like, okay, what do you want to claim? And I responded, and I quote, I don't know. Now that person had asked me, he was like, well, what were you seen for? What about mental health? And he looked at my deployment sheet and he was like, okay, we're probably going to submit mental health. He was like, what about your back? What about your wrist? I had surgery in 2011. Those were the easy ones that the VSO walked me through. But what we missed were my one-liner complaint for migraines. We missed IBS. Presumptives for PACT Act wasn't a thing then. And so all those were essentially missed, which did suck. I definitely lost probably a year and a half. I think I'll have to do the math, maybe 2 years of back pay there. But that's the result of I don't know.
Right.
And I had a good VSO, right? Imagine if I didn't have a good VSO.
Right.
It'd be a lot worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the funny thing is that is real, right? People come in and they're like, I don't know, you tell me. And it's like, what? Like, I don't know you.
Yeah. Here's
So
my
then it's like, okay,
3,000 pages of medical
you're trying to
records.
flip through things, right? And meanwhile, you got 14 people sitting in the lobby, and you're trying to flip through this thing, so you're going to miss stuff, right? So then what happens too is that the rep starts asking the veteran, all these questions. Well, what about this? How about that? How about this? How about that? Would you ever have any issues with that? Blah, blah, blah. You start going down that list, and it's just ramblings, right? They're just kind of throwing it out there. Anything. I mean, I'm just starting from the head to the toe. I don't know you, right? And I'm just asking stuff. Sometimes people get irritated too. Like, why are you asking me all these questions? And it's like, it's all right here. No, so the more you're dead on with that first one, the more that you can do up front, the better off you're going to be with your claim. And it's almost like, here's the solid things that we're going to file for that I know, because I know what a nexus is, and I know what evidence is, and I know what the VA is kind of looking for. Cool. Then there's this other subsection of, I'm not sure. I have these. I don't know if I can somehow get these also in there. And then the VSO will help you figure out, okay, yeah, we can, let's search how this would work as as a secondary. And let's see this, let's see that. And maybe something is on a presumptive list. And they're like, oh no, that's a presumptive. So you don't even need to worry about that now. And, and that's really, you want to have some questions. You want to have your list of conditions that that you can push through with your nexus and your evidence, and then your I don't knows. Here's my other conditions. What can we do with these? And man, that would make it super easy, super smooth. Yep. And having that open mind, right, to be able to have the conversations and not get offended with 1,000 questions.
And it comes down to the choice.
Totally.
We make the choice. If you're watching this, right, ignorance is no longer an option. Now so you have to make the choice. If you're ignorant about the process, like I was, like Jason was, hey, welcome to every single veteran who submitted a claim, right?
Right. And then it goes back to the thing that I've been saying lately, right? Treat this like it's $1 million or multi-million-dollar deal, because guess what? It is. You add compensation and your VA medical that's going to cover you for life. The dollars are astronomical. So treat it that way. Put a little effort in. It's amazing to me how many people put in just very little. So if you put in a little more.
Yeah.
All right, back to you, Clay. We beat this horse down.
So we did, but that was good. All that, there's so much more in VSOs. Yes, I would argue every veteran should, at a minimum, have a VSO with their claim. Even if you submit yourself, right, which you can do, still sign that 2122 with the VSO and build that relationship. That would be like bare minimum. Now transitioning into one of my all-time favorite topics is claims consulting companies. I don't want to get into, are they good? Are they bad? If you know me, then you already know the answer. If you've seen Jason's responses, you already know his feelings towards these companies. What I really want to hone in on, Jason, is what types of claims should be, according to our moral compass that we're making up right now, which claims should be off limits, meaning a VSO is fully equipped, the veteran's evidence is there, and they would most likely win those claims without signing a contract and paying, 5 times, 6 times the increase or an upfront fee, whatever the contract says. One comes to mind specifically. For me, it's BDD claims, benefits delivery and discharge. I think a veteran who is going through the BDD process, if they fall, I'm going to use a strong term here, victim. If they fall victim to these companies on a BDD claim process, I think that is as predatory as it gets, personally. On a BDD, which is for active duty service members from 3 to 6 months before that EAS date or ETS date, leaving the military, terminal leave not included. If the veteran is diagnosed, it is almost a slam dunk claim. almost a slam dunk claim. There's some other factors involved there, which we don't really have to get into. But if the veteran is diagnosed during that exam and that condition did not exist prior to service, it is damn near a slam dunk claim. And these companies, or even a VSO at the BDD level, they almost do nothing at all. And it's just BDDs, that is something that I will die on. I think BDD should be completely off limits legally. Obviously, that's my personal opinion. There are other types of claims too, but I'm going to kick it back to you, Jason.
All right. Well, thanks for leaving me one. I appreciate it, or a couple. No, you know what? I absolutely agree. Look, here's the thing: is that when you file your claim with the VA, the most common reason why we get denied service connection, most common, and shake your head for me if you agree, Clay, is nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Nexus is proving to the VA that your condition either manifested during your time in service or as a result of your time in service somehow, some way. That's the best definition that I can give to really kind of round it out. Well, if a BDD claim, which is benefits delivery at discharge, if a BDD claim is filed during your time in service, and you get diagnosed for anything during your time of service, so you can file that claim during your time in service, the most common reason for denial is negated. You don't need to worry about that because you're filing for things that you've been seen for in the military. And that's the beauty, I think, of the BDD process, even more so than the fact that you can file it during your time in service, and they're working in tandem, and by the time you get out, hopefully within a few months, your claim is decided and you have money. That's cool. But what's cooler than that is it's making veterans, soon to be veterans, military members realize, oh, I can file a claim now and let me get all my stuff together. So it makes them take action during their time in service. I cannot tell you how many, and I know you have done this too, Clay, how many conversations I've had with folks getting ready to transition, typically somewhere within a year's time frame, and going, look, go get seen for everything that you have going on with you. In fact, I go as far as saying, look, Google search your own demographic. I'm a this, that, whatever, male, female, whatever, unicorn. What are my common conditions? Mm-hmm. What are conditions that show up in my demographic, right? Oh, you have a 43% chance of having this. Go get checked for that. Because it might be two things will happen. One, hopefully you don't, number one. But if you do, boy, you caught it early because you checked. And two, it's now service connected, which is sweet because you caught it, right? Imagine if you don't, and then 5 years later it shows up. If you can't prove that it's due to your time in service, you're just going to have to live with that. So BDD claims, 100% agree with you, Clay. The next one I would say would be, presumptives. Why? Same reason. The presumptive takes away the need for a nexus, right? So if there's no need for a nexus, that's the most reason that we ever get denied. All you need to do is supply medical evidence, time in service, and a condition. So go to your doctor, get diagnosed. Is it on the presumptive list? Did you serve in that location? Done. You could do these yourself. Although, like Clay said, even if you do file the claim yourself, absolutely, if you can, appoint an accredited rep. So that way, if anything goes sideways or there's delays, anything like that, you have somebody who can peek behind the curtain for you and see what's going on. So right now we got BDD and presumptive. Any other ones from you, Clay?
Yes, this one's probably the most controversial of the three. But before I say that, I want to make a comment on what you had said about researching your demographic. I never thought about that, actually. And the crazy part is the research is already done for you. So every year I have videos on this. Jason has videos on this on the VA's budget. The VA produces a budget for the request for next year. And within that, it talks about by era, the top 10 most common claims. And so Vietnam era, peacetime era, Gulf War, and post 9/11. So if you're a post 9/11 veteran, all you have to do is go look at that document, the top 10 claims. I'm going to try to do it off memory. Tinnitus is always number one. Okay. Tinnitus is number one. Hearing loss is up there. Bilateral knee conditions are up there. Mental health is always up there. Back is up there. And so is radiculopathy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Nice. There's probably some sinusitis and some other PACT Act presumptives in the top 10 as well. I just can't remember. But just on that alone, tinnitus, hearing loss, mental health, back, radiculopathy, knees. If you're post 9/11 era, and I'm just thinking of all my friends right now, almost all of them have all of those. Okay. And that's just an easy, almost a check in the box. The research is already done. I absolutely love that idea. I'm probably going to steal that from you, Jason. So thank you very much. Now,
we're friends.
The most controversial of the off-limit claims, at least if I'm a claims consulting company, BDDs seem unethical to me, right? Presumptives, I think that's a very hard line. I think that's objective. A hard line, no, although some do it. I would also argue initial claims, anything that is initial. For instance, let's say you've passed your BDD window, you're within your 1 year time frame, you're submitting for lower back pain, you have the diagnosis from service, you don't know how to submit your claim, you sign a contract with a company, they don't do anything, and you're awarded because you had the evidence. And I just don't think that is a representation
Where was the work?
that is worth 5 to 6 times the increase, right? I just don't think the representation's there. I will give this to claims consulting companies. I would like to see them personally not deal in initial claims and increases so much. That's their main pot of money. If they really worked on supplemental appeals, which a large number of veterans do deal with, I think they would, at least the representation in the legwork to build that supplemental appeal, which is the most difficult claim, in my opinion, is a supplemental. At least there's a workload behind that would cost some dollars. I would compromise and get on board with that. When it comes to initial claims like tinnitus, really, you're going to charge someone to submit a tinnitus claim when they were in artillery or on the flight line or whatever. It's just initial claims, man, are a no-go for me. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that, because there is a counter argument to that, especially if the veteran's been out for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. There's many scenarios, but go ahead, Jason.
I'm in agreement with you, but I will play devil's advocate here in a minute. But I am on your side with this. I think that attorneys, right, that are accredited, that do the VA claim stuff, I mean, they do it right. We don't do first claim. You got to go to a accredited rep, go through that whole process, get denied, and then we can help you. We're not going to step in here. So I think that's the methodology that should be used. And I think that and the idea here is, imagine if your first claim went from nothing to 70% or 80%, right? Or even 100, who knows, right? So that's a ton of money that you paid. And it's do a little footwork up front, right? Get approved for what you can get approved for. And then if you get denied for either service connection or rating that you want, right? You get lowballed on your rating, you feel, because you're educated and informed. You looked at the rating schedule, you read everything, you're like, well, I should be a 30% for migraines. They rated me at 10. I'm calling that out. I need to file a supplemental there, but I'm not quite sure how I need to document this specific thing. I need some help. Sure, fine. But initial claim, I'm on board with you. File it yourself if you have to. Try to go through an accredited rep. They're around. Even Wounded Warrior project has accredited reps.
Mhm.
So, and I believe that would all be virtual because it's not like they're not Starbucks. They don't have an office everywhere. So, do that, give that a shot and see who you can find to help you for free. There's all the information out there. At the end of the day, I think that they are focused. I agree with you on the wrong things. I think that there needs to be some tangible effort and work and strategy, right, put into the person's claim in order to warrant that type of payment, right? I'm not opposed to payment. I am opposed to absurd amounts. I think that there should be a cap, and I think that the focus should shift to more complex claims. But then they're dancing around. Now they're competing with the claims agents and attorneys out there. And who would you rather file your claim or help you with your claim, right? An attorney, if you're going to the Board of Veterans Appeals, or would you rather have, Joe or Jane Blow, who has not even an accreditation, by the way,
Mhm.
and they're, for the most part, I mean, there could be an attorney that works, in that world, but usually the attorneys that work for those companies are just there to protect the company, not to help you with your claim. So I'm pretty sure that me and you have as much or more than any. I'm willing to bet that I do more up here about the claims process than at least the majority of them. I'm not going to say that more than any of them. Who knows? But the bottom line is that I think that what happens is that if we get them to shift their focus on those other harder claims, then they're going to be competing with attorneys, and people will probably more likely go with an attorney. People are going to these companies. Why? Because their accredited reps are busy, because they can't find anybody, because it showed up in a Google search as some company that's there to help them and bring them in with open arms, with verbiage that makes it sound as though there's some sort of philanthropy nonprofit out there to help you win your claim against
Facts now, Jason.
against the big bad VA, right? And I don't think that the VA is necessarily as bad as they get painted. Are they perfect? No, they're not. But once you understand the process and you know what they're looking for, it makes it a lot easier of a roadmap, right? I mean, if you know that look, we're not trying to make up conditions, right? It's you have this condition. Cool. You're diagnosed for that condition. Cool. You complained about stuff in service that are in line with that condition. You just weren't diagnosed, but it's like you complained about these things. Cool. There's a schedule of ratings with that condition that tells you exactly what the ratings will be for that condition, depending on your severity. Work with your doctor, get a nexus letter to help hammer home the point that you've made those complaints during your service. Let that be the rationale in that nexus letter. File your claim. There's so much information. I hate when people get ripped off. And I think that the way you avoid it is not go down that route if you can. I don't know what else to say about it, Clay. It's a slippery situation for folks. I think that out of desperation, people go there. I think that there may even be people who there's success stories though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that say, hey, I've seen them in my comments on the other channel, right? Hey, I went to such and such. I went from here to here. Bam, I had to pay him this much, but look at me now, right? So, if you need that type of hands-on, cool, right? At the end of the day, if that's what you need, but really I'd say try to do it yourself first and let that be a very, 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 very kind of last resort. That's it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And one of the main reasons I harp on the initial claims as off limits is because I had a coworker who's also a friend of mine who joined in 03, went straight to Iraq when he was a 17-year-old kid, right? Never filed a claim. This was 2022, I believe, 2023. And that's when I started doing YouTube. And he was like, hey, you want to help me out? And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and talk. 5 minutes of conversation. I was like, okay, here's what you should submit. He had the evidence, and he went from 0 to 100% in about 6 months. Okay. Initial claim, and that was purely due to ignorance, meaning he just didn't know how to submit the claim, that he could be rated. He wasn't disabled. I mean, there's a plethora of reasons on why veterans don't submit. And what did I do? About 5 minutes. You know what? I'll just say 30, just to give you the benefit of the doubt. About 30 minutes of conversation and just figuring out what he should submit. Went from 0 to 100%. I didn't do anything outside of talk.
Yep.
0 to 100% times 5 is $18,685. Is the work that I did worth that much? I don't think so.
Clay,
I do not think
you're Clay, you're valuable. Okay.
I don't think so. That's just one argument, right? Now, if we're talking about supplemental appeals, I could at least see some legwork, because anytime I deal with someone who's in appeals, it's kind of annoying. I'm just like, God, dude, this is going to suck, right? We really have to dig deep into this. So that would be the compromise, Jason, for me at least, and I can totally see that.
Yeah, and I have another story kind of like yours, right? So, but Vietnam vet, okay, out forever, right?
Yeah.
There's no rating with the VA at all, and he was my neighbor. I meet him, we talk, and after a few sentences, hey, do you ever serve? Yeah, in fact, I was Vietnam. Oh wow, hey, thank you for your service. Welcome home. I'm glad you made it. What'd you do? And he said, well, I was in the Navy, and I was on the little river boats going up. I'm like, oh my God, and what a nightmare that would be, right? And so we got to talking, and at the time, there's already Vietnam presumptives for Agent Orange, right? So we kind of rattled through a few things, and he has them, and it's like, oh well, we probably file a claim. Did you not know? And we're talking, and it's like, well, when I got out, I actually went to the VA, and they told me that I made too much money and sent me away. And I think I told you this story before. I shared it here before. He went to the VHA, the Veterans Healthcare Administration, and he probably just went in and said, yeah, I wanted to see if I could get signed up with VA, because I don't know what else to call it, right?
Yeah. Okay,
well, how much money do you make? Well, I'm got a fireman job, I'm doing whatever, nope, you make too much money, this is, not for you. Okay, leaves. I tried to sign up with VA for my medical stuff, whatever, right? Got denied. Okay, so here we are today, which was 5 years ago or something now, and he went from nothing to 80, nothing to 80. Then we turned around and filed for unemployability, and he got that. So he went nothing to 80 to 100 in like a year, and we'll call it a year and a half. I think it was just over a year for both of those claims to go through, and it was primarily presumptives. There was one condition that was not a presumptive, which you could probably guess what it was in Vietnam, up and down riverboat stuff. Yeah. You're going to have a little issue with that. And so we got them all squared away, and it's like, he would have been out a ton of money if he didn't. So in any case, that story there too is, look, even if you have a huge gap between the time you got out and today, there's still opportunities for you. Back to you, Clay.
Oh yeah, completely off topic, and I meant to say this up front. If you're wondering why I'm wearing this ridiculous shirt, it's because I'm moving back to my house today, and this is the last clean shirt in the hotel room. So whatever, it's what you get, okay? It's a Nats shirt for Major League Baseball. Anyways, that has nothing to do with anything. I was just looking at my dumb shirt in the camera there. Okay, let's go ahead and switch the order up, because I think the transition.
Please make comments about that.
I think attorneys would be a good transition from that one. So we'll just make a audible here. But when should you involve an attorney? And straight up, not during initial claims, most attorneys probably, I'm going to give a percentage of it, which is not true. I have no data on this, but I would say 99.9% of attorneys is not going to talk to you for initial claims. However, there is one that I know of that does take 10 veterans at a time to help them with the initial claims in hopes that they get denied. I know that sounds weird. So then they could work on the appeal. I'm not going to say who that
Whatever.
is.
You're building the relationship, and you're doing it for free. The initial claim's free anyway. Which
it's like the pro bono, right?
Right. Yeah. Except for, well, let's not slide that piece of evidence in there.
That's yeah.
A little shell game going on.
I would assume an accredited attorney would have the integrity to not do that.
You would hope.
I'm not gonna. Yeah. But if it ever turns out that he is, you'll see a video from me on that the same day. But so most attorneys, overwhelming majority, work in appeals, specifically supplemental appeals and the Board of Appeals. Some of them deal in higher level reviews for complicated HLRs. You won't really see an attorney get involved in like a HLR for an increase. You can, they absolutely can. Those are the easy ones. But a lot of attorneys will just say, hey, just do an HLR. You have the evidence. I wouldn't worry about that. But there is a predatory side to attorneys as well that I also want to bring up. It's the attorneys that, let's say it's 2010, you submitted for rhinitis and sinusitis and asthma. They all got denied. 2022 rolls around. The PACT Act comes about. Those are now presumptive. So you have the current diagnosis. You meet the criteria. Could you hire a lawyer to do the appeal for those? You absolutely can. Would they rake and take that 20% or 33.3 is the cap there? Could they do it? Absolutely. Have some done that? Yes. The answer is yes. I would also call that predatory as well, but that is a small number. I just wanted to throw that out there because attorneys are not the end all be all. Oh my goodness, I've been denied. I'm in good hands. You have to shop around for attorneys as well. And there is one other thing I want to hit on, Jason. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Me personally, so outside of VA stuff, just in my personal life, I am a shop local, Kentucky shop local type dude. Some would say libertarian. I wouldn't go that far. Just support your local economy, right? And not the corporations type. That was a really long way to say what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry.
Like, where are you going with this?
Yeah, there are huge law firms, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, like Hill and Potton and CCK, and they're great. They will take care of you. However, you have to keep in mind that they have tons of clients. They are ginormous, especially with their YouTube presence, their social media presence. They're getting clients. Clients are not an issue, okay? And depending on their workload and their bandwidth, you may see that. You'll see negative comments coming out of huge law firms. It's not that they are bad, because obviously if they were bad, they wouldn't be as successful as they are. So that's not even in question. They are great firms. The issue comes down to, kind of like your VSOs. Well, how much attention are you going to get when it comes to your appeal? And I'm telling you, last week, Jason, we talked about how veterans are checking the status of their claim every day. For appeals, that is exacerbated. That is on steroids. You always want to post on what that appeal is. And appeals, generally speaking, take a really, really long time unless you're combating that with like a fully developed appeal, which is not a real term. So me personally, I'm a fan of the small town lawyers, the local accredited attorneys. Doesn't really necessarily have to be local to your like geographical proximity where you live at, but it could be an attorney that you find online. That's just a mom and pop attorney that really takes on, 30 clients at a time, whatever that looks like. You're going to have that feel. So I say all that to say this thing, okay? Anytime someone asks me for a recommendation on attorney, I always tell them to look for an attorney that works for you, right? That's really going to be there, that gives you updates on your appeal, especially if you're at the Board of Appeals, which is its own nightmare. It's its own conversation. But that's my personal opinion on attorneys. If you want to use the huge law firms, go right ahead. No harm, no foul. That's just my 2 cents. Go ahead, Jason. That was a ramble.
Yeah, hey, look, again, very nuanced situations, right? I think that for the overwhelming amount of folks out there, I think that the process is essentially, you can put in the intent to file yourself. You don't need to talk to anybody. Call the VA, put it in, start a claim online, fill out the form, send it in, put in your intent to file, develop your claim, work with a VSO, veteran service officer, accredited agent, whoever you find, an accredited representative. Work with them, get your claim filed. Whatever comes back, comes back. Some things are approved, some things are denied. You're getting ready to file your, we'll say, HLR, higher level review. Check the box on there that says that you want an informal conference. Awesome. Do that with your accredited representative that can be on the phone with you. Now you're going to go through that process. Let's say that it still stinks. They come back, say no. Now you're going to file your supplemental claim. Again, work with, this is the majority, right? There could always be something on the side. I think that for most people, this would be the standard kind of way of thinking this through. Your supplemental claim, you're going to work with your accredited rep. Hey, we got denied on this. This is where we're at. Can you go? What do I need to get there? You need to go to your doctor. You need to have this conversation. You need to have them write you a letter that says this. You need to go get that. You need whatever it is. Put that all together, get that claim filed. Bam. Let's say they deny it again. Now you have to think about it and have that conversation with your accredited representative. Hey, do you think I need an attorney? Right? The attorneys will write a very strong argument that's got all the legalese in it and pull up prior cases from the BVA, because you're going to take it to the Board of Veterans Appeals now. Now, at this point, when it goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals, you again have choices to make. Do I want the board to just view the file and make a determination? Or do I want to submit additional evidence, which I always suggest? Always double down on more evidence. The next choice is having an actual hearing where you are able to see the judge, either in person or virtually or what have you. That's going to take the longest. Now, do you have to have an attorney to go to the Board of Veterans Appeals? No. No, and plenty of people win without it. In fact, the percentage is just a little bit higher win rate with an attorney over not with an attorney. Do you need to have an accredited rep represent you or be with you through that process? No, you could do it all yourself. Don't suggest it. I suggest working with an accredited rep through that, getting their insight on whether they would suggest an attorney for your specific situation. You can pull up decisions from the board with docket numbers and everything regarding similar situations that you have, and it's footwork, but it's online and you can find them and pull them up and stack in 6 or 7 of them as additional evidence on kind of the way that the courts have thought over the years. Attorneys are really good at doing that and can do that if that's what's needed. If it's just a matter of interpreting the law and you feel that that's where the issue lies, well, then, in other words, the VA has interpreted this incorrectly. I believe that it's this way, and you could show even that the court has ruled that way before. You might not need an attorney if you can pull that evidence up with your accredited rep. Now, if you do need one and the accredited rep and you decide that it's probably best that you do, great, do it. If you don't and you're denied from the BVA, the Board of Veterans Appeals, at that point, my personal view and suggestion, do what you want at the end of the day. But my recommendation is get an attorney, because now you're going to move it from the Board of Veterans Appeals to the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. So I look at it kind of like the lower court and the higher court. But as long as you are keeping within all of your time frames through this now appeal process, you're going to preserve your effective date. And when it gets to the Board of Veterans Appeals denying your claim and you now want to push it to the higher court, you're going to want an attorney at that point for sure. That's my suggestion, Clay. Back to you.
Oh yeah, there's three things I think attorneys come in clutch, especially when compared to a claims consulting company or even a VS or even any other accredited rep. One is that attorney, contrary to the claims consulting companies, they're going to have VBMS access, so they can see your C file, which is absolutely critical when it comes to appeals. And not only can they work that case, but they can also see, hey, 10 years ago, a mistake was made. And I've seen someone get back pay of $173
on your back pay
grand
Yeah.
just from like a 20% Q, right? Clear, unmistakable error. No one else is doing that but the attorney, right? Maybe a claims agent, but you got to get a rock solid claims agent.
Right.
But that's where your attorneys are going to make the most bang for their buck, because they are digging in your C file. That's one. The second thing that this is kind of, I'm going to call it the cheat code of an attorney, is if you are in a supplemental appeal and you go to an attorney and they take your case, that is an absolute solid indicator that they believe they can win. If they cannot win that case, they're not going to take it. Why would they waste time, manpower, resources on something that they're going to lose versus something that they can win and make money on? So if they take your case, you are, I'm not going to say most likely, because there's just so many nuances with that.
At least likely is not.
Yeah, but it's a solid indicator that you're going to win. You're going to win that, and that attorney is going to do the work to win, because if they don't get paid. So there's an incentive there that is powerful. Now, the opposite applies. If they don't take your case, it's one of two things. One, maybe you just take the loss and figure out, work on your other claims. Because just like there's an indicator that they'll win, if they don't take your claim, it's an indicator that they won't win, meaning it might be a dead claim. Now, there are some exceptions, right? Let's say you have hearing loss. The overwhelming majority of hearing loss claims come back at 0%. An attorney is not going to spend, they may not spend manpower, logistics, all that stuff, bandwidth for that 0% appeal, because there's nothing in it. Okay. So food for thought, take that with a grain of salt. And there is one other thing I really want to, this is just one example of an attorney shining, right? Is, let's just say you were denied sleep apnea secondary to PTSD or secondary to whenever. If the C&P examiner gave the opinion that saying, hey, this veteran's sleep apnea is not caused by or aggravated by their PTSD, therefore no nexus is warranted, what an attorney could do is say, hey, you can't just say it's not caused by it, right? Well, what is it caused by? What is your evidence that points that the sleep apnea is caused by this thing? So one, did the examiner identify what the cause really was? Or did they just say, well, it's not that? Because in VA law, not that is not going to work as an argument, okay? So not only do they have to deny the nexus for your claim, but they also have to link it to something else, saying, hey, sleep apnea probably came from, obesity, whatever else. I mean, there's many other factors there. That's what a lawyer is going to do for you, is argue that law and look at case law, which is very, very powerful. And it takes, can any person who can read English can look up case law? Yes. The issue comes is that case law specific to relevant your case, right?
Yeah.
Because there's evidence for and there's evidence against. And if you submit a case law because you word search sleep apnea and PTSD and found them together, that it's going to support your case, It's probably not. And so that's really, your attorneys are going to shine in those areas. And that is, it goes back to the claims consulting companies, right? When it comes to supplemental appeals and board of appeals, that is where the legwork is, in my opinion. And I would at least compromise, a fee has to be paid for that, because that's hard, right? That takes knowledge. It takes skill. It's definitely not luck. That's my 2 cents on attorneys. They are a powerful tool, and I will say this: I hate recommending veterans to an attorney. I hate giving that as an answer, because it should not be the case, right? Yes, the VA should have got it right the first time. I agree with that, but the reality is they don't, and they did not for that case, obviously, because you're in appeals. That's my last thoughts on attorneys, Jason, unless you have anything.
I just wanted to double down. I love that you brought up the Q, the clear and unmistakable error. I love that you're referencing the back pay issue. There's many people that the VA didn't assign the appropriate back pay. If you feel as though that happened to you, you can ask the VA to essentially do an audit on your file and back pay and all that stuff. You can do that. Work with your accredited rep and have them do that as well. So yeah, those are a couple great things that attorneys will look at and jump into your whole file and make sure that the VA did the right thing. And so yeah, that's great, Clay. I'm ready to move on to the next one. Let's go.
Yeah. So the last topic is things that slow down your claim. I just had a few comments. So I preach fully developed claims over on CivDiv and here on Veterans Daily. And I also have my own coin term. I call it evidence-based claim. So a fully developed claim is the in-service event, the current diagnosis, and a nexus with the DBQ. That is fully developed. I recommend veterans at a minimum submit an evidence-based claim, which is just the in-service event. So evidence from service and the current diagnosis. That's minimum, at least in, Clay's playbook over here. But things that slow down your claim, it's pretty simple. It's when you don't submit evidence with your claim. And if you've been out for, 10 years, 15 years, do you have to submit your relevant service treatment records with your claim? No, you do not. That's not required. However, okay, if I'm submitting a claim, my goal, my framework I want to have in my mind is whoever this rater is, I don't know them. I want to make their job as easy as possible. So I'm going to create a PDF. I'm going to have my service treatment records from my annual health assessment that talks about my lower back pain. I'm going to have my final physical, my exit exam that talks about my lower back pain. I'm going to throw those in a PDF. I'm going to have my VA medical records that talk about my back pain and my physical therapy, my medication, whatever you got going on. And I'm submitting that PDF file. I'm going to title it lower back. I'm going to submit that with my claim. So when the rater gets it, with a statement, by the way, when the rater gets it, it's like, oh, this person did. And I'm saying rater as a broad term because it's going to go to an adjudicator first who's going to order the CMP exam. When that person gets it, they'll say, oh, this veteran already has the evidence. It's already made for me. Bam, let's shoot it over to the CMP examiner. You go through the process. You're good to go. Do you have to do that? No. What happens if you don't? Well, now you're at the mercy of that adjudicator. How many times has the VA not sent relevant evidence to the CMP examiner, right? An OIG report showed 68% of the time, which is an absolute insane number of mistakes. That's unsat. That's not okay. So what slows down your claim? It's simple. It's submitting the evidence, right? There's so much to dig into that, Jason. I want your opinion on what do you think slows down a veteran's claim?
So, right, lack of evidence, right, is one. Another is if you rely on the VA to gather your medical records and stuff for you, right? If you sign over, all the reach out to this doctor, reach out to that doctor, reach out to this one. You need to go get all my stuff from my military service, my service treatment records, all that stuff. You go get all that. that's going to tack on months to your claim process, because they will try once, the doctor doesn't get back to them. They'll wait like 30 days, then they'll try again. So you're much better off putting in an intent to file. You go and you gather everything that you need to support your claim. Two things happen. One, you speed up the process. Two, you're in control of what the VA has, right? Because they don't need every single thing that they could possibly get from your medical records, from your current stuff, from your past stuff. They need specific things, and you want to be able to guide them down the path that you want them to go down. So that's important. One of the things that drives me crazy when that slows down a claim, Clay, and then I want your thoughts on it, is because there's a couple different ways on this one. So somebody files a claim. It's been 6, 7, 8 months. And during that time, they've had 15 conversations with 17 other people. Well, that'd be hard. Well, maybe there's more than one person in one of the conversations, right? So anyway, so they had a bunch of conversations with different people, and different people said different things. And next thing you know, they got, the good idea fairy landed on their head and said, hey, look, you should file secondary this and secondary that and thirdary this. Oh, okay, cool. They file another claim. What happens is the VA doesn't go, okay, well, we're working this claim, and oh, here comes another one. Oh, okay, well, we'll just kind of go like this and just keep processing, right, with 2 claims in the system for you. No. They go, oh, now there's another one for the same person over here that's been 7 months already. We'll slide this one back and put it in here with this one. And so you just backtracked 4, 5, 6, 7 months. And so that will absolutely slow down your claim. What are your thoughts on that one, Clay?
I definitely agree, and there's some other factors there, right? I can't stand it. Just every time I see this question, I wish I just reached through my YouTube comment screen and just shake that person, right? I'll see things like, "Hey, I submitted claim X a week and a half ago. Now I'm going to submit claim Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E," and I'm like, "Okay, why didn't you just do it?"
Right.
What's the thought process? There's never an answer. And it comes down to this. Use your intent to file. The intent to file is so underrated. Me and Jason have talked about the intent to file so much, and it just never seems to resonate. The purpose of the intent to file is a whole year, right? And so today is, as we're recording this, today is July 3rd. Oh, happy Independence Day, Jason, and everyone else.
Right. Yes.
As you watch this, it'll be
late. Yeah. Belated. Good job, Clay.
Right. So if I did an intent to file right now, today, I have till July 2nd of 2025. I have 365 days to get my evidence in order and submit the claim. What I think slows down the claim process is veterans just jump the gun, right? It's a knee-jerk reaction. I have my intent to file. I got to submit next week. And a month later, they're like, well, they see YouTube, they're on Facebook, they're on Reddit, whatever. Now they want to submit all these other claims. I'm just like, hey, first, do another intent to file. Okay, we're back at square one. You have a whole year from there. 2, I'm shaking. That's their face, but I definitely agree with you, Jason. I think veterans just need to breathe. Really, it comes down to the intent to file. I think is a single point of failure for most claims. Is veterans just jump that gun. Submit your claim when you are ready to submit your claim. Don't submit a personal statement 2 months later. That one makes me so mad. It's like, hey, I submitted my claim 3 months ago. Can I submit a statement and will the rater look at it? 1, I don't know the answer to that question, right? Maybe not. Who knows? 2, why didn't you submit that with your claim to begin with? And it's because the knee-jerk reaction. Yeah. Now, there is a point in time when you're on month 10, month 11, maybe your house flooded. That's a joke, right? Maybe something happened in your life and you're at the last, few months of your intent to file. at that point, I would argue it's okay to just submit it, right? Prepare for the denial, but just submit it and preserve that effective date. That's a very small number of situations, though. For the most part, veterans just need to take control and take advantage of the intent to file. I think that's the single point of failure for, what slows down my claim.
Right. And I think you brought something up here, Clay, and I think that, people get enough information. They have a couple conversations with some friends or whatever. They file a claim and then they start to do research, right? Then they're watching the YouTube stuff. Then they're figuring all this out, and then they're like, oh, I forgot to do this, and I should have did that, and I could do this, and I should file for these, and then they get everything out of whack. So I love the suggestion of, look, after you file your intent, ideally you did an intent to file, you developed everything, you shot it through, but let's say you forgot something to file, or you've realized something else that you need to file for. Make sure you just file another intent to file. Let that one run out. Let them decide it. Hopefully that all happens within the time frame. Then file the new claim. Would be the cleanest way to do that. Now, the only exception that I ever really have with regard to filing two claims during the same kind of processing period, because they'll combine the two and it'll take longer, is if the new claim is going to be substantially, at least we feel, as though the new claim is going to be substantially larger percentage-wise than the old claim, or than the one that's already in process. So for the easiest example, right? You filed for tinnitus because everybody told you should. Boom, it's off. 6 months goes by, and then you go, oh, I should file for PTSD and my bad back and my migraines and all this other stuff, right? Oh, yeah, well, just be Johnny on the spot and get that in, because who cares about the 10%, right? They'll figure it out, and your back pay will be what it is and all that stuff. But it's more important that you get this new claim with all these big substantial things in. Again, like you were saying, that's a very small, it's usually flipped around the other way where the big stuff's up, and then it's like, I forgot tinnitus, right? No, don't stop all that for tinnitus, because that might take you to 100. And meanwhile, you just slowed down the whole process because you wanted to add tinnitus in. Here's something for you, Clay. And I don't know if you know it off the top of your head or not. And if you don't know them off the top of your head, just give the basic overview, and then I have them up here. We're talking about what delays your claim. Okay. What are ways that folks can request priority processing? In other words, expediting their claims process, which is an important piece, right? And how good is the VA at it? Whatever. That's neither here nor there. The fact is that you can request priority processing, and if that starts to drag on, then reach out to your congressional office, have them reach out to the VA and say, hey, this person put in a priority processing request. So, Clay, what are your thoughts on priority processing? You don't need to nail them down if you don't have them in front of you, but your thoughts on it, please.
Yeah, so I know two off the top of my head, and one of them I helped a really, really good friend of mine with. That's the only reason why I know it. So the most common is going to be at risk of being homeless. So either homeless or at risk of is probably the most common, which is a very unfortunate thing to even just say. Another one is situation based. That's not the technical name for it, but here's the example of what happened to my friend. My friend is one of those veterans who he's done more deployed than I have. And that's just an easy way to say he's got some stuff going on. Okay. For real. And he's just one of those dudes that's prideful, and he had submitted for mental health, but was rated at 30%, and sleep apnea that I think was rated at 30%, which is a weird sleep apnea rating. That's not really common. And that's it. Okay. He never wanted to do an increase, although he certainly warranted increases. He never wanted to look at tinnitus, although he was a motorman. He didn't want to look at anything else, which was his choice, and I tried to get him to do it so many times. Well, fast forward, his wife died unexpectedly. Super sad. I don't want to get into it. But they have 3 kids, and they were living paycheck to paycheck, and she was a working mom as well. And so all of a sudden, money became a huge factor. And Social Security is not the fastest thing in the world. So he was like, hey, man, can you help me out? I was like, yes, absolutely. So we did a hardship claim. I think that's what it's called, actually. We did a hardship claim, submitted a statement in support of that claim, just describing what the hardship was. He ended up doing 2 increases and then I think 6 or 7 other claims. And in a month and a half, with these were not fully developed. One of them was for mental health. The others, it was about a month and a half. It was less than 2 months. Complete decision, boom, service connected. And he got up to, I want to say like 90%. I think 86, 87 as a hard percentage. And that happened fast. Now, could you argue a month and a half is too long? Yes, you could. And I would agree with you on that. But that's the hardship claim, right? So if you want a timeline example of hardship claim, it was about
it's a lot better than 10 months.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
but I know there's others, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So the homeless are at risk of becoming homeless. True. So what is at risk of becoming homeless? You could have an eviction notice. You could also utilize a PG&E or other gas, electric type services shut-off notice, because if your gas or water is shut off, well, your house is not habitable, so you would essentially be homeless at that point. So that's an important one. Or you're experiencing extreme financial hardship, which is the one that you were bringing up, such as loss of your job or sudden decrease in income. And that would mean household income, I'm sure. You have ALS, so Lou Gehrig's disease. You have a terminal illness, right? So if you have a terminal illness, obviously annotated down by your doctor that it's, a terminal illness, unless it's just an automatic known, then you just need to supply that proof of that condition. You have, and by the way, it doesn't say that it has to be a service-connected terminal illness. It just needs to be a terminal illness, right? So next one, you have a very seriously injured or ill status from the Defense Department, and I'm not sure exactly what that looks like. This status means that you have a disability from a military operation that will likely result in your discharge from the military. So this is, I'm going to end up getting out of the military, right? You're going through probably med board, all that stuff. You're probably, wounded warrior battalion type stuff, and getting ready to move into the civilian sector, and you're essentially filing a version of a BDD claim at that point. So the next one, you're a former prisoner of war. So if you're a former prisoner of war, you can ask for that priority processing. If you've received the Medal of Honor or the Purple Heart, a lot of people don't know. If you have a Purple Heart, you can ask for priority processing, which is a nice little added benefit there for a Purple Heart recipient. And obviously Medal of Honor, which, I mean, there's not that many out there running around. So, right. Oh yeah. I would love to meet any of them. It doesn't even matter. That's so, because it's so rare, right? Mm-hmm. And then the last one, and I saved this for last for a reason. If you're age 85 or older, so simply based on age, 85 years or older, you can request priority processing, and you absolutely should. Here's the funny thing to me, and I personally believe there should be pressure put on the VA, probably through Congress, probably through the Senate Veterans Committee and the House Veterans Committee, to lower this age to 75. Why? 85 is pretty old. A lot of us don't even make it that long, especially when you're talking about disabled veterans, right? Agent Orange and all these other, hey, you're more likely to have all these cancers, but if you make it to 85, we'll do priority processing for you. No, that's stupid. So I think that it should be lowered to 75. And another reason why is because if your claim goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals and you're in that appeal process with the board, the priority processing for the board is 75. So you have conflicting ages for priority processing. So you can priority process At 85 years old with your regular VA claim, then they deny you, and then it goes to the board, but you can't expedite it. Or I mean, you can expedite it there too because you're 75. But if you're flip-flopped, if you're 78, you got to wait for the whole process to go through with the VA. Then if it goes to the board, you can ask for priority processing. So whatever. I think they should both just be 75. Keep it simple, stupid would be a good move here for folks. And 75 makes more sense when you're talking about the demographic that we are. So that's it, Clay, with ways to expedite the processing through priority processing. Any spark any thoughts for you?
No, that's it. Off topic, I do want to say that I got to meet Dakota Meyer, who's a Medal of Honor from Kentucky. He was really chill and laid back, and I also knew Chris Kyle. I'm sorry, I just watched American Sniper on the flight back. Kyle Carpenter is what I meant to say.
Yes, there you go.
We were in 2-9.
You got us with Kyle.
We were in the same. Yeah, the Kyle. We were in the same unit. He was. Here's something funny for you, and then we'll go ahead and end the episode. We had a battalion formation, which is miserable. Everyone knows that, right? So we're standing out there in the heat. We're waiting on Kyle Carpenter to roll up, and all he says whenever he takes the mic is he says, and I will never forget this. He was like, "Hey, if you wanna talk to me, I'll be over here on the side. I know your first sergeant's made you stand out here, so I'm not going to do a speech or anything. Just if you want to come out over here, you can come over here. You're dismissed." And I was like, "Oh, this dude's awesome, right? He's a Lance Corporal at heart, right? Specialist for the Army folk, right? That's my guy." So based on that alone,
you're like my people, my people, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
That's all I got, Jason. If you want to close us out, cool. Something about taking care of each other and something went wrong or
yeah, whatever. Clay needs help. Let's just make sure that we do a lot of comments on his shirt to make him feel really, really smart for wearing it. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get people that say they love it.
Hey, it's
and
Budweiser, the official sponsor of the Nationals. So
that's right. It's I mean, when you think of athletics, you think Budweiser. Being in shape,
peak male performance right here. Okay.
That's right. I like the schmedium fit. Looks good.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, hey, thank you guys all for watching so very much. We appreciate each and every single one of you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
That's it.